Welcome to the Inspiration for an Empowered Life podcast, sponsored by the Image Designers. They will help you look prosperous, feel prosperous, and be prosperous. Now, here's your host, the Image Master, Holly Porter.
Hello and welcome, everyone. Today is a new day to start a new, fresh, whatever you need or want to make happen in your life. I've got another guest here that we're going to speak with. Her name's Rhonda Beyreis, and I am super excited to introduce you all to her because she's going to show us why we should be eating healthy or healthier in some people's case. And so, Rhonda, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking.
Awesome. Well, I'm really happy that you're joining us today, and I want to share with the listeners a few things about you that I didn't know, actually, all these details. And so you have been in the food and beverage service since 1981. That's a long time.
Yes.
Okay. And you did prison ministry in 2005 to the president. And I know you have such a great heart, so you're really good at that. So you've done a few things here. Oh my gosh. That's why I call everybody multi-passioneurs, because, you know, we're passionate about so many different things. So you've been an international humanitarian medical practitioner for spiritual seekers, speaker food classes from 2005 to the present. So you've been to Guatemala, Philippines, Egypt, Tanzania, Ghana, and Zimbabwe. How do you say that?
Zimbabwe.
Oh my gosh, how fun. Vegetarian food prep from 2003 to 2005. Oh my gosh, you just like have all these things. You went to the Culinary Institute, Living Light Culinary Institute in 2014. You graduated from there. And you're also a bank certified personality trainer coach since 2015, sorry. And you are the CEO. The most important thing you are, CEO of RAWndalicious LLC. So you also have, this is what fascinated me about you, you have a 500-acre training facility to county, or in the county, in Arizona, right?
Yeah, in Arizona.
Living and sustainability. So like you're titled a prepper, I would say.
Yeah.
Okay. My dad's a prepper, so I get it. And finally, you are going to be in the 40/40 Rules book that I'm compiling for 2018. This is actually volume 2 for those listening. I've interviewed quite a few of our 40/40 Rule authors, and also 30/30 Rules. But 40/40 was so popular that, you know, it's a bigger pool of women. They're between 40 and the last book was 40 and 74 years old. And so somewhere in there, Rhonda fits, and she has so much wisdom to share that she's going to be joining us, and that'll be launching this summer. So, oh gosh, that was a whole mouthful, and we'll just talk some more about what you do and who you are, and I'm just excited that you're.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here as well. Thank you for inviting me, Holly. This is just exciting stuff.
Well, I love your light. I love your energy. So we met, has it been a year? About a year, right?
It's been about a year. Yep, it's been a year in April, actually.
Gosh, time flies. So yeah, we met at a personal development class that we were both joining, and just hit it right off. And Rhonda's just got such a good heart, and I love everything about Rhonda. She is just a great person to know. So, okay. So let's jump in. I have a few questions here for you. This is new to me. You know, I eat pretty healthy. Mm-hmm. I do not eat raw, however. I could, but probably not on a permanent basis. So, like, my first question is, for those listening that are not familiar with what even raw is, like other than a raw egg, kidding, can you share about that?
Yep. You can take actually fruits and vegetables and nuts and seeds and create them into gourmet raw foods. And it's quite not that hard to do it. It just takes a little wisdom. And so I can make an apple tort out of apples that have been on a mandolin, stick them very thinly, and then create a glaze out of like agave and different seasonings and spices, and let that glaze give the color and transform it into something that actually looks like it's been cooked or baked, and top it with some seeds or nuts, and it's just beautiful. And it's like a gourmet situation. Also, you can take zucchini and use a zucchini spiralizer and spiralize that up and create a pasta, and then make a raw sauce that goes with that, and it creates a zucchini pasta. It's not that difficult. It's just learning how to use the tools and how to make flavor balancing and create the flavors that you're looking for, that you're so used to in the cooked realm of the world, and create it into a raw flair. There's so many different ways. I make raw cheeses out of cashews. I make cheese sauce, like a cheddar cheese sauce with jalapenos out of cashews as well. And then you can make different cheeses out of tofu. I mean, there's different ways of recreating your favorites and making them something delicious. So there's a lot of different ways of doing it. I actually teach classes in that. People love it. And just going plant-based is really great as well. A plant-based flair is just recreating your favorites and making them from plants. That way you're not getting the toxicities that come from big pharma and big, the food and dairy industry. They have really done a number on foods. Food has changed over the years. So just recreating it plant-based has really been something I've really dug my teeth into.
So I go extreme. Like I'll do plant-based and then I'll do keto. I mean, talk about bipolar opposites. So why, keto is so popular right now. What is your opinion on that? And like, let's talk about the food chain and what happened and how everything's changing, and why is keto so big right now?
I'm not even sure why it's so big, but what I do know is that people are they're striving for a better way to eat or a better way to live, and without the wisdom and knowledge of all the things going on, it just doesn't make sense. It's like, okay, I can grab this and I can grab that. Is it going to work for a while, or is that going to work for a while? And I can use the Atkins diet. That was really popular. People were just pounding all that meat. Well, meat is closing the arteries and it's making the blood toxic, but yet they're losing weight because they're focusing on one item and it's just pounding it. You're starving your body of other nutrients. And then when you go back to your regular diet or you're done with that, boom, you bloom back out and gain weight because your body has been in starvation mode. So it's grabbing what it can in order to get sustained back into a regular platform. And let's take a look at what has happened over the decades in life. We went from just getting everything from the ground and eating it. And then back in the Bible days, people were cutting the fatted cow on a special food celebration. And that's how they ate. They didn't really eat the animals every day, but they made a celebration out of it. And then they used their leathers or the furs in order to keep warm. And so it was to be sustainable in that factor. And they did a lot of tilling of the earth. If you remember back in the Adam and Eve days, they were put in the garden to till the earth so that they could eat. And we started out with nuts and seeds and plants. And then as the food chain changed again with the flood, God put on the ark, he put all of the animals. He gave 7 scavenger cleaning animals, and then he gave the clean animals. And so we had the animals to eat and the animals to clean. And that's a whole lesson in itself. We could go on that portion of it. And then as time went on, people were looking for more convenience. And back in the 20th century, let's look at 1813, a man named Durham learned how to can foods by compressing it into glass, and that started a canning age. And then in 1886, we have Henry Heinz. He's behind Heinz Foods, like the tomato foods and tomato soup. That was his big deal. And he created a way to make food in tin cans. And as the food chain started taking that on, it was like, oh, we can can food in tin, and create a way to preserve food, and then they could take it into battle. And so here we have a whole new platform of stuff going on. We went from glass canning into tin canning, taking it into the battle because they could take it, it could store, it could be battled around in the ships or whatever, but it yet was still sustainable. And they were feeding a lot of people with the tin can goods, and they started creating meats in tin cans like salmon or sardines and different things like that. And all of a sudden in 1943, the housewife wasn't actually sitting on a stove for hours creating foods and doing different things. They were taking it from the canned goods that were now at the supermarket and creating a whole new lifestyle. But what ended up happening with the canned foods is it started taking the nutrients out of it. Because once you cook food at 118, you've killed the live enzymes in it, and all of a sudden the food chain started changing and evolving into something that was not very healthy, but yet was very convenient. And at that point in 1950, we saw the refrigerators coming on the scene. We had refrigerators in 1950, which took away having to go out and make everything or grind it in a can, but all of a sudden frozen meals were coming on. We could create something, and we still do that today, and then store it in the freezer and pull it out later. Well, we've changed that food from fresh and living. We've done something and changed it into a frozen foil, or we've cooked the living tar out of it and then froze it. All of a sudden our food chain started deteriorating. And
wait, I have a question for that. Okay. So if you had to pick, because I know you like raw everything, but sometimes that's not possible, especially when you're traveling and things like that. Just share with the listeners, like if you had to pick out of fresh is best and then cooked or frozen or canned, what would you say in what order is the best way to go if you had to not eat, if that wasn't possible to do raw?
Okay, so that's a good question. I'm going to just go in a row here. So raw and fresh and living is best. And then if you were to dehydrate it at 115 to 118, something to preserve it is second best because it still has the live enzymes in it. Then the next best would be taking something raw and putting it in the freezer, like fruit, right? That's a good example. We take fruit, we peel a banana and we store it in the freezer. That would be next best. And then cooked would be the last best. So, and it just depends too. Some things are better steamed, which is cooking it at a certain level and it brings things to life. Like carrots are better steamed. Broccoli comes to its life and color and vibrance and nutrients steamed. So there's different ways of doing it. So there's always a different level of stuff going on there.
Okay, so that brings up another question. When you talked about 118 degrees, is steaming past that? I don't know this.
It really is.
Okay.
But blanching, if you were to blanch something and put it in hot water and then put it into cold water, that would be the step above steaming. Does that make sense? So you'd go raw foods, dehydrating, blanching, steaming, freezing, cooking.
Wow. There's also to share. I don't know if you really wanted to go here on this show, but I know you've been working really hard on a cookbook, and
yeah,
it's really cool because I know. Are we allowed to talk about the QR codes?
Sure.
So I know you use QR codes, which for people that don't know what those are, that's like those square things you see with all these little dots and stuff inside of them that you can scan with your phone. Kind of like when you go to the checkout at Walmart and they have the barcode. Well, these actually are attached to a video of her preparing that recipe that's going to be in a cookbook. You want to say any more about that?
Sure. I realized that when an individual like myself or anyone else gets a cookbook, they see this beautiful picture of the food that's completed, and then then you see the recipe itself. And you can be going along and doing a recipe and then get stuck and go, well, is this right or is that right? There's no way to communicate with the person that created the recipe. Right. And so what I've done is I've said, okay, well, how do we eliminate this issue? Because it can be an issue. And so what I had done was I had videotaped preparing or giving tips that would make sense so that a person wouldn't get stuck, and it would make it a lot easier for them to want to cook and prepare the food. And this cookbook actually is comfort foods vegan style. So it's more of a cookbook with raw thrown in and tools and tips on how to use different tools, because I believe that a lot of people would go plant-based if it wasn't all raw, because they're intimidated. Number one, they don't understand. It's like, it's not going to be great. And so I went the opposite. I went the plant-based and created things like a Yankee pot roast that I came up with. And I actually did that raw in my culinary school, and it came out great. And so then I took it a step further and I made it a cooked plant-based. So I've got it in both. So, but in this cookbook, it will be cooked. Or taking, hot wings and recreating that into a plant-based, but learning how to do it, or making bacon plant-based. These are the things that, what?
What's the meat then that you use?
The plants. For which one, honey?
Like chicken wings and bacon, like. Wow.
Okay, so the chicken wings would be cauliflower, and the bacon, I actually use a young Thai coconut or rice paper. I have both of those in my recipe.
How fun. I can't wait to get the book. When is it coming out?
It will be out this year. I have just working on a few little of the last things, and then it will be going to the printer.
So
or going to the publisher, actually.
Yeah,
By
we'll have to have you
year.
back on.
Huh?
Oh, we'll have to have you back on and do another segment and talk more about that, you know.
Perfect.
Gosh, you make some fabulous stuff. That's exciting. Well, okay, so let's talk about the foods. We were talking about like what's happened and why you've turned to doing this, and with raw, like, let's talk about our kids for a minute. Okay. What is the food not only doing to us as adults, but what is it doing to our children?
Well, when you think about the children, they are junk food junkies. The parents have used food to make a kid be quiet, make a kid happy as a reward. And so what children are susceptible to is sugar and feel-good foods. But not only is it that they're eating all of this processed and heavily sugared foods, because sugar is basically in everything. If you were to look at a label, you would realize high fructose corn syrup is laden in just about everything. And sugary foods are what kids are used to being given as a reward. And so it's just convenience for a parent. Here you go, just eat that. Or yeah, I know, here you go. I want that, I'm screaming at the store. Okay, boom, take that. And so not only is the child at a very young age taught that sweet foods and junk food is the way to go, instead of giving a kid a carrot or an apple or something like that. I remember when I was a child, we weren't allowed to eat junk food. We just weren't. If we had chips, that was like, oh my goodness, you hit the jackpot. Because my parents, in my mind, were freaks. I'm like, what is this weird peanut butter that we got all this goo in it? You know, it wasn't like when I went to my friend's house and they had Jiffy and grape jelly, you know, we had to eat this healthy junk. And I'm like, what is that? But now I understand it. Although it lasted, and then when we got on our own, it's like, well, give me the garbage everyone else is eating, because we had to go to our friends to get it. But people are just stuck on the processed food, and it's really attacking our children. They're becoming obese. They're getting autoimmune diseases that should never be happening to children. They say this is the generation where the children will pass before their parents because of what's happening to them. The parents are eating garbage. They're giving that to the infant inside the baby in the belly, and then the baby comes out and it's eating junk. You know, it's just the way it is. It's just really sad. And then when you look at what's going on in the food chain with the animals and what they're doing, they're pumping them full of hormones and different things. Young girls at the age, I've seen girls that are 8 years old that are actually growing breasts. And when you think about that, it's like, what's happening? Well, when you look in the canned goods, you've got BPA going on in the canned foods. And so it's leaching in, and that's being given to the hormones and the estrogen, and all that stuff is happening just by opening up the canned food that's been sitting there for who knows how long, and all that has leached in. You can actually look now for BPA free canned goods, which would be smarter. They said back in the, I think it was in the late 60s, when Tupperware came on the scene. Tupperware was going to make a woman's life so much better. And then the statistics said that plastic was going to end up killing people. And you know what it is? It's killing us because everything has taken that plastic revolution to a height that we just can't even go back from. When you think of the bottled water that we're leaching in, that's affecting the children. When you think about the canned goods, I want SpaghettiOs, I'm sure that's not BPA free. So that's attacking the body and the hormones, and it's just attacking the estrogen. Not only that, but then you get into the where they're pumping all sorts of other things into the food chain that's attacking. So the little kids are obese. Number one, they've been given the wrong foods to sustain their happiness. They've been given the foods that are BPA free, the cheap junk food, SpaghettiOs and, you know, ravioli. And
well, it's more expensive to eat clean.
It is.
Like,
it is. And so when you think of the parents that are given food stamps, when I go to a grocery store and I watch an individual that has a bunch of kids and they are using their food stamp card, right, they're blessed to be able to have it. But then when you look in their basket, it's pop and chips and, you know, not even Cheerios, Captain Crunch or whatever it is, those big bags of junk food cereals.
Yeah.
And then they've got their milk and their eggs and their bread or whatever, but it's a rarity that I see really healthy things. And so it's really a crime because it is more expensive to eat healthy when it should be less expensive. And it should be more expensive to eat all the processed junk, but that stuff can stay on the shelves forever. If it can stay on the shelf forever, what do you think it's doing in your system?
It's preserving you.
Yes,
there's a country in the world, I'll butcher what I'm saying, I'm sure, but there's a country in the world that used to dig up their, you know, bodies, like the skulls, because they didn't have enough room to bury them. And I guess now, because there's so much preservatives in all the food, the bodies aren't deteriorating like they're supposed to. And so they're having a real trial trying to figure out, I know that's morbid and gross, but anyway.
It's not, it's true.
But it's true.
It's true. It's not morbid and gross because we are preserving ourselves by eating all the preservatives. We are wreaking havoc on every cell in our body. We need our blood to go from our big toe to our brain in 60 seconds. If it doesn't do that, what's happening? So all the foods are affecting every cell.
Thank you for listening to the Inspiration for an Empowered Life podcast, sponsored by the Image Designers. They will help you look prosperous, feel prosperous, and be prosperous. You can learn more about them at theimagedesigners.com or email holly@hollyporter.com.
They find the atherosclerosis already clogging the arteries. And so it's because of the food chain. The food is toxic.
Well, okay, so I could go on, and I know you can too, about how important all this is. We only have a couple more minutes left. Okay. So I want you, give some solutions. Do you have some solutions of what we can do, maybe as parents or as a community, whatever?
I would love to. One of the things that I can recommend is that, Mom, you need to make a really home-cooked meal for the evening meal and make sure that it's healthy. And that you've thought it out, and bring the family together and teach them how to eat healthy and have community. That's number one. Also, eat the good foods, like the good fats. Avocados are good fats. You need your omega-3s and your omega-6s. Put some flax in your food or in a salad or something like that. Walnuts are really good for the brain. We need to hydrate more, eat things that are more brain empowering so that our bodies are healthy. Have magnesium. Magnesium is really important in the system as well. Vitamin B12, everybody's pretty much lacking vitamin B12 and vitamin D3. These are things that are very important. You need to have some more live plant enzymes in your system. And so what can you do to do that? Eat a real apple. If the apple you bite into and you set on the counter doesn't start to turn brown, it's a frankenfood. Don't eat that. Take a note of what it is and don't buy it anymore. Make sure you're doing a lot of leafy greens and things like that. get a pot and put some seeds in it and grow something yourself. Try that for once and get your hands dirty and look and see how the food actually is growing. Gardening is something that's not even available in our minds anymore when it should be. Try gardening, putting it in a pot and grow some Swiss chard or grow some kale or something that's simple, dill or basil, and see how that grows, and that will spark something new inside of each one of us.
Okay, and if you don't know how, like I have not a green thumb, but I did plant some herbs the other day.
Awesome.
I have this cool little tree right behind me. By the way, it is a money tree. It's a good luck money tree. That literally is the name, and it's braided. Can you see the branch? It's
Okay.
like a braid. Anyway, they had two, and I came home with all my flowers and everything, and then I said to my husband, I want to go back and get both of those. And they already had sold one. I was so bummed because there wasn't another one that size. So I'm out on the look because I'd like two of them. But that, yeah, I'm excited. I'm like, you know what? I'm creating my new brand of prosperity, and I want that money tree. So, but I'm just saying. So that got me off track. When the green thumb thing. What do you think YouTube has good resources if people just need some gardening tips? I mean.
That would be really great, but I think a person could start like you are with herbs or leafy greens. They're very simple to grow and you can do it in a pot. Just learning how to put something in a pot, and instead of planting all flowers in your garden, put some little greens or something, herbs there, so that you have an actively effective growing food source. We're not guaranteed the food chain anyway. We all know that. So wouldn't it be nice if you had something growing that you could eat opposed to just look at?
Yeah, and it's organic if you don't spray it with anything, correct?
Correct. And if you can, yes, if you grow it from seed, you know where it's coming from. We have no idea what franken foods are on the market anymore. Everything is taking a toll. Everything.
I bought starters. Was that not a good idea?
Starters? No,
Yeah.
I'm sure it was probably good,
It was
but
from a nursery.
I'm sure it's fine. Better to have a starter than have nothing. I have starters sometimes too. I get from Bonnie Nursery. So yeah, but you know what's really awesome is when you grow something and like say it's a bell pepper, then let it grow and then pull the seeds out and save the seeds and grow again. What people don't understand is that seeds need to be climatized. Like on our 500 acres, we grow groceries on that 500 acres, right? We grow vegetables, but we also save the seeds so that they become climatized, so that they grow good vegetables.
Oh, wow. There's so much to learn. Well, we'll see how my herbs do this year.
I'm sure they'll be fine.
Now I'm like trying to get more live in my life.
You know what? It all starts with the first step.
Yeah, I agree. Yes. And just, I think meal prepping and planning to eat healthy, you really do have to plan ahead and my suggestion would be like, take a afternoon, a Sunday, if it's your weekend, if it's your day off, just plan a couple, 2 or 3 hours to prep your meals out. If you can get them and wash them and, get them ready and just keep them there. So you can, when you're hungry, you can grab something, as you would say, raw, because you do all raw, but, just get something so it's there so that you're not grabbing the crackers and the chips and things like that are all just processed crap. And if you don't buy them and they're not in your house, I mean, sometimes you'll think I'm going to eat healthy, but my kids won't eat that. Well, if it's all that's in the house, they will.
What I do is I dehydrate like pineapple and apples, and I make fruit roll-ups, all that stuff. Those are great snacks for kids, and they love it. It's readily available.
No, that's great.
I want to say one thing that I do is I help people learn how to do plant-based. So if a client comes to me, I give them a list of things. They can call me from the grocery store. I tell them where to get it, how to get it, whatever. And then they bring their goods to me. And then we create food for them for the week. And then they learn how to do it. And then they take that home and feed their families. It's been very effective that way. That way a person understands how to shop and then they learn hands-on how to prepare it, and then they store it and they take it home, and then they can try it out on their family, and they've had hands-on learning, and that way I'm their like chef teacher, and they come in and they become the chef. That's what I do a lot here at my house, and I have a studio up north that I'm getting completely ready to do that as well.
Could you, Rhonda, is there a way for somebody listening that maybe lives back east, is there a way that you could do that with video with them? Like where they could do a FaceTime or something with you and take you to the grocery store with them, right? I mean, is there a way to make that happen?
There is. I've done that where I had somebody doing a Zoom meeting with me. And so they Zoom and then they can go and do their thing, and we can do it through Zoom. So, and I did a cooking school for someone that was in Ohio, and that was really great. It was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. I think where there's a will, there's a way. So if you're listening and you want some of these tips from Rhonda, first of all, when her cookbook comes out, we'll have to hook you up. So we'll make sure we post her information of how to contact her below here and in the show notes, and you can check it out and check her further out. And then I look forward to the cookbook. I am so excited about that. I can't even. So thank you, Rhonda, for being our guest. Is there anything else you wanted to share that's on your heart?
Yeah, if you'd like to go to my webpage, you can go to www.RAWndalicious.com, and it's RAWndalicious, and click on videos. Just check out what we're doing. Click around in there and see what's up.
Oh, Rhonda Beyreis. Yeah, woo! Some good nuggets there today. So thank you so much for joining us, and thank you, listeners, for listening and hanging out. And I know our time is gone. However, you will put some of this into your life, I hope, and you'll all be happier and healthier, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, for now, we will see you next time. Thank you again, Rhonda.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to the Inspiration for an Empowered Life podcast, sponsored by the Image Designers. They will help you look prosperous, feel prosperous, and be prosperous. You can learn more about them at theimagedesigners.com or email Holly at hollyporter.com.